In this video, we'll look at several items from the DCRDATA menu bar, which can be useful but also often overlooked. Specifically, we'll look at the cost to attack calculator, chain parameters, and agendas. One of the most common questions in the crypto space is how hard is it to attack the chain? Or how much does it cost per hour to take over the chain with a 51% attack? Most chains don't give up this information easily, which causes third parties to build their own tools to validate chain security. In Decred's case, the project is very proud of the effectiveness of its hybrid security and has built tools to simulate the full cost of an attack. In the DCRDATA sidebar, scroll down to the attack cost. In this section, you have the information needed to assess how the chain security is performing under current conditions. The initial controls and data show the cost to attack if the attacker has obtained 20,429 tickets and 83 petahashes of miner hash power. This data shows the attacker will be able to generate blocks at the same average speed as the honest network. This calculation includes the cost of hardware, electricity, and ticket purchase. With these vectors, Decred would cost approximately 243 million to attack initially. It's important to note the cost of attack does become a lot cheaper after the initial investment, but arguably if the barrier to attack remains high, the incentive to attack is very low. The parameters of the cost to attack calculator can be changed to consider other circumstances, like what would happen if the attacker had more tickets or more hash power. But in each case, these calculations show as long as Decred has a good level of decentralization across tickets and proof of work, the project is extremely difficult to attack. Next in the menu bar is the parameters section. This section lets us check the rules for the Decred chain. When you're comparing various blockchains, this can be incredibly useful to see how the chains differ in their implementations. For instance, if one chain has a 5-minute interval for block production and the other has a 10-minute interval for block production. Each parameter set is divided up, starting with chain parameters. Here you can check the basic elements for the chain, including interval between blocks. Furthermore, you get to look at the first block in the chain, the genesis block, and the pre-mine block, to see how the initial distribution was performed. This section also includes the maximum block size and the maximum transaction size. As we saw in the last video, this information can tell us if the blocks are exceeding their maximum limits and the chain and the validating nodes are performing as expected. The subsidy parameters section lets us look at how the block reward is distributed. The first part shows how the reduction occurs. For example, a reduction of 1% every 6,144 blocks, or approximately every 21 days. In contrast, Bitcoin has a block reward halving every 4 years. The idea with Decred's block reward reduction is to be more gradual and to remove the supply shock factor. Next you have the division of the block reward, which changed recently from 60% proof of work, 30% proof of stake and 10% treasury to 10% proof of work, 80% proof of stake and 10% treasury. Unfortunately, this information hasn't been updated and is currently undergoing discussion for the best way to be displayed. The stake parameters section defines the elements for the ticket process, including target pool size, tickets that can vote each block, how long it takes for a ticket to mature before and after participating in a vote, and how long it takes for a ticket to expire if it doesn't vote. As discussed previously, Decred's ticket system is used to validate the miner's proof of work, vote on consensus changes, vote on community proposals, and to vote on treasury spending. The treasury parameters section describes the rules and the process for treasury spending. I'll go into more detail in a future video, but for now, this is how treasury spending is conducted. Next we have the rule change parameters, which determine the rules and the intervals for the consensus rule change, including number of votes required for a vote to take place and the rule change activation interval, which is how long it takes for the change to take effect if the voting approves the change. In this case, 8,064 blocks, or approximately 28 days. The last section are the address parameters, which identify and describe the addresses used and implemented on the Decred chain. For reference, each address has a 2-byte prefix that can be used to identify its type, and a checksum suffix to detect improperly entered addresses. Next we have the agendas area. Here we get an overview for all the consensus changes that have occurred on the Decred chain, starting with the most recent and when they were implemented. As discussed previously, Decred has a systemized approach to upgrades, which has been so successful that in the last consensus change, they decided to formalize the process as an explicit version upgrade, which basically means that everyone participating in the protocol now has to run the same version of the software, making Decred the first hard fork only blockchain. Previous and future versions now need to be explicitly approved by Decred stakeholders to become valid. Also available in this area are the stats for how the vote progressed, including yes, no and abstain votes, and the approval rate. As you scroll down, you can dig a little deeper into these upgrades and their stats by clicking on the link provided. If you want to dig even deeper, there is a better site called voting.decred.org, which allows you to see the same stats available on the agendas page, but also links to the proposal information. As you can see from this video, DCRDATA aims to make Decred's on-chain information as accessible as possible. And although this information can be daunting, there's an important emphasis on open and transparent. Everyone who wishes to participate has the opportunity to do detailed research and investigation without relying on second-hand or biased information. In the next DCRDATA video, we'll look at Decred's decentralized treasury and the new spending procedures. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video and you want to show your support, don't forget to give it a like, comment, and most importantly, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you next time.